Mr. DJ there. Hey Craig, how are you? People, it is a gray day here today. So that's why Maud Betty was putting on a happy face, courtesy of the the Bye Bye Birdie soundtrack. Record I got years ago when I was in high school, and I still love it. Hello, Jeff and Jane, nice to see you. Donna Wilhelm, how's your hairdo? Or is it anything like my hair don't? Laura Grablitz, nice to see you. I know the local folk will realize that the weather today is a bit of the slightly more gloomy than it was this weekend. So I'm kind of like, all right, putting on the bright lipstick, dancing around the house to show tunes. And I'm getting myself all excited to share with everybody Ohio. Yay. Yeah, this is great. So Donna, don't worry, I won't share the picture, but Donna was putting curlers in her hair and she said she's getting ready. And I totally get that, because every week that I show up, I've got more hair. I think we all have more hair now, unless somebody's going to like a rogue stylist, you know, under a bridge or something. It is crazy how much hair I have on my head, and it's taking me actually a longer time to dry it, so I have to like rearrange it. I hope everybody is doing well. Let's see, I have to count. I don't even know how many of these Facebook Lives I've done. I feel like it has been at least 10, not sure. But this is so much fun for me. And I say this every time, but it's because I really mean it. I want to say thank you all so much for tuning in, because me doing this gets me out of my head where everything's like, what the heck is going on? And it gets me into my heart, and it gets me into thinking about the things that are important to me. And when I go from here, where the thoughts are going like, what the what, down to here, then I get excited and I feel so much better. And it gets me excited to, like, I don't know, it gives me the excuse I have to get up. I can't be in my pajamas. I mean, I guess I could, but I'd kind of be slacking. Holly Lane, oh, how nice to see you. Thank you, everybody. I just love it when everybody tunes in and gives me the excuse to put on a happy face and get here. Brian, nice to see you as well. I love seeing these familiar faces and names here. And as I often say, too, in all sincerity, look at the other people in the comment section as well. Maybe there are some names that are getting familiar to you. And that's because, as I said, this isn't just about me. This is about me connecting you to fun places, but also to other people. Matt, nice to see you. Debbie, nice to see you as well. Because while we're all kind of separated here, we're all connected. I may be the hub. I may be the reason you're all tuning in. I'm only part of this. Oh, hey, from Kent, Ohio. Very cool. Laura Stevens, nice to see you chiming in as well. This is so nice. But in any case, I just want to make sure that you start to look, you can look at me, you can listen to me, but see who else is in the crowd with you. Maybe there's somebody who, whose name is familiar, but get to know some of the people, because this is all about connection. This is all about, you know, connecting with people that love the same things you do. Thank you. Holly, I will confess completely, there is a filter on this video, and the reason I let you know that is because, God, I would love it if my face was always so like this. But Facebook has done something weird to the videos where if I do just the regular no filter thing, it turns green, and not as green as in the background. But Mary Ann from Kentucky, thank you for chiming in. Kentucky's going to be Thursday. But today we're talking about Ohio. And the neat thing is, so I've got the state right here, and I've got a couple of notes here, because it's, again, don't follow my, like, don't drive this way. It'll take a while to get there. But I want to tell you all about some of the neat places that I discovered, retro road map worthy places in Ohio, because I've done more than one trip to Ohio, and every time I go, we hit a different section and we find more wonderful things. So without further ado, Janet Stoner-Meenan, that's the Meehan. I'm always jombling up your name. It's lovely to see you, Janet. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're working from home and giving everybody what all. And Drexel Hill Style Pizza, one of my favorites. So anyhow, we're talking about Ohio. Now, last week we talked about, well, we talked about a couple of states, but when we left off, I did West Virginia, and there was a place I forgot in West Virginia. And Craig Nye, you're on here in the thread, and you reminded me, Meehan, not Meehan. Well, I come from a place where there's Dedham, and then there's Stoneham, and Needham, and Framingham, so it's all over the place. I digress, and I will focus on this task at hand. So last week we were in West Virginia, and there was a place I forgot way up here in this little kind of panhandly area when we were talking about Newell, West Virginia, which is where Fiesta Wear was. In Chester, West Virginia, literally a smidge close to Newell, right before you get to the PA line, is the largest teapot in the United States in Chester, West Virginia. And so I wanted to make sure you all knew about that, because I meant to put it on, it just totally, it wasn't on my map. It wasn't in my head. And so I feel bad, but that gave me a good excuse to start up here. And so we're going to kind of go, maybe we're almost drawing a little bit of a heart, perhaps, because there's some really neat stuff along the lake. This is Lake Erie. So those of you who don't know your states, kind of like I had to refresh my states, we've got Pennsylvania over here, West Virginia here, Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky. So we got a bunch, but we've covered Pennsylvania, West Virginia. We're here. Next week, we're going to go to Kentucky, because when we end today in Cincinnati, I learned from being in Cincinnati, but then also from my research, that people just cross the river all the time. So there were some Cincinnati recommendations that people wanted to, that people have recommended for Cincinnati, because you basically just cross the river. It's kind of like, I guess, if you're in Philly and you go over to Camden or something, or not. So in any case, let's get into Ohio, shall we? So we're going to start up here. And the first place I'm going to tell you about, actually, and I will say this, there are a number of places I have not been to, but they've been recommended to me. And when I research them, they look like, my spidey sense gets like, yeah, that looks like a cool place. And that's part of the fun of retro road mapping. So we're going up here to Geneva on the Lake. So Geneva on the Lake is a cute little place on Lake Erie. I found out about it because Brian Butko of the Heinz History Museum and author of Roadside Giants, a wonderful kindred spirit in the road world from Pittsburgh, posted a picture on, Flickr. And this place looks so adorable. There's a place called, and let me just get myself all structured here. I didn't print these out big enough, so I have to kind of go like this. But there's a really cool place called Eddie's Grill right up here in Geneva on the Lake. Totally adorable old school place. And it looks like Geneva on the Lake is one of those places where there's little motels. There's like a little arcade boardwalk type of place, very small. And the thing that I love about this is that it just reminded me how kind of interesting this is. How, like, I grew up on the ocean, not on the ocean, but like in an ocean-facing state, right? So I have a love of the ocean and getting to the water, and I love it how human beings were naturally drawn towards the water. So the fact that right here in Ohio, it's not in the ocean, though these are the Great Lakes, they're big enough to be in the ocean, but all along here are different little areas that you can check out on the ocean, on the water, because people love to go there. So that is Eddie's Grill on Lake Erie in Geneva on the Lake. I did already hop over a place that I haven't been to, but it's right around here. And the reason I'm going to mention it is because let's say we were stopping here and you get to here and you're almost at Geneva, but you haven't quite made it yet. And you want to get out of the car and you want to stretch, maybe take a rest, if you know what I mean. Maybe buy some snacks, because that's what retro road mapping is also all about, is stopping and getting snacks. There is a place called the End of the Commons General Store. Pretty common, okay, that's that. It's in a town called Mesopotamia, Ohio. How awesome is that? They named it after a B-52 song. I know, I'm kidding. Laugh track. But in any case, it looks like a cute little old school, old country store that you can go in, get some cheese, get a soda pop, you know, stuff like that. Excellent. Good to know. Mini golf. Yeah, see, motor courts and cottages, that kind of place to me. You drive up there, Geneva on the Lake. Thank you for chiming in, Marion. The other thing I will say, Marion reminded me, so I thank you again about this, is if you have favorite places that you like to go to in Ohio, please, please put them in the comments, because the comments stick with this video even after we're not live. I've been posting these on the Retro Roadmap Facebook page, so those people who aren't able to tune in will be able to check them out. But this is a collaborative event, effort. I have my recommendations. You put your stone into the soup pot, and the next thing you know, we've got something really tasty. So we're up here, and then we're trucking along to go to Cleveland, because Cleveland, we had a fun visit to Cleveland. And on our way to Cleveland, we're going to get a little bit off here, and there's a place called Chagrin Falls. Now, Chagrin Falls, much to my chagrin, I did not know about it. But there's a place called the Popcorn Shop. It's been there since 1949. It's right adjacent to the waterfalls. The Chagrin Falls actually has a waterfall. And it's right down here. And there's a lot of popcorn stuff going on in Ohio. I started going down the rabbit hole of like the invention of popcorn, and then I thought, oh gosh, it probably started back in Mesopotamia, like way over in the olden days, and not Mesopotamia, Ohio. But regardless, Popcorn Shop. Then we're gonna head to Cleveland. So Cleveland is here. I can't remember who said it besides my mother. Was it, who's that guy? W.C. Fields. The Mistake on the Lake. I'm not calling it that, but I know people have, okay? So Cleveland. I went to Cleveland years ago because I had been saying for a really long time that I wanted to go to this place over here, Sandusky. I know, doesn't everybody want to go to Sandusky? I'll tell you in a minute why I want to go there, but I had been doing that thing where I'm saying something and saying something and saying something and then not doing it. Oh, I get so tired of it. Well, I guess my sister also was tired of hearing me say that, because one year for Christmas, she gave Cliff and me, a pair of tickets to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame right here in Cleveland, right? So that gave us the push to get on the road and go. And to me, these Retro Roadmap videos are a little bit of a push and encouragement to push you towards something you already want to go. Ooh, pierogi, I love pierogi. So you can go to Cleveland and you can go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Nothing wrong with that. There's rock and roll there. Or there's also some other really cool retro roadmappy places. Now here's a really neat one too. And this was so like the universe was sending me a message, but they sent me a postcard. So as some of you know, I sent out a bunch of postcards to retro roadmappers last week, and I told people I didn't want any, just go spread the love. Well, enough people were like, no, we want to send one to you too. So the Savages, I think they're from around the Pittsburgh area, not sure, but I got to check that. But they sent me this picture of the arcade in Cleveland. Now, there is nary a pinball machine to be found here, but what the arcade is, it is the first indoor shopping center in America. It was built in 1890. And it's literally within walking distance of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Here, we'll get a picture here. I got to figure out a way to get more pictures here besides me. I guess maybe I could put up a slideshow. I don't know. Anyhow, the arcade is a very neat looking place. Today is a National Registered Historic Landmark. It still has shops in it. And then a neat thing that I found out when I was doing my research is that there is also a national chain hotel is there and is adjacent to that. So if you want to stay downtown, you don't often find a lot of non-chain hotels in cities and things, but this is one that would be kind of neat to stay in because you can go right into the arcade. So that's the arcade in Cleveland. Another place that when we went and visited in Cleveland, you couldn't stay at, but you can stay in it now. Check this out, people. I know it's not the season. I mean, Hola, Feliz Cinco de Mayo. But if we were talking about Feliz Navidad and Christmas, we'd be talking about the Christmas Story house. Now, you know that movie, The Christmas Story? You're going to shoot your eye out, kid, and all that kind of stuff. That was filmed in Ohio, in Cleveland, And somebody bought the house that they did a lot of the interiors and exteriors of. And now it's a place that you can actually not only go visit, but you can stay. Yes, Brian, you're so right. You can stay. I'm showing this because I'm all excited, but you can stay in the Christmas Story house as like an Airbnb. Also, if you remember the movie, there was also the neighbors, the Bumpuses that had the dogs. You can stay in the Bumpuses house too. So that's in Cleveland. So maybe you want to go do that. We had a fun time. We did a tour. They actually do have what is Lifebuoy soap up in the bathroom, and you're like, gotta eat some because you said the naughty word. It's very fun. So that was a lot of fun. Another totally unexpected thing, and this is what is so much fun about travel. I mentioned this because this is one of my feelings about travel. I was telling it to somebody the other day. I was texting him on his birthday. They said travel is something that pays you back in 3 ways. First, when you decide to travel, you have something to look forward to. Like, oh, I'm so excited to go to Cleveland. Then you get to Cleveland and you're there. You experience the thing you'd been looking forward to. And then after you come home, you have the memories. Memories are up here, but they're also here in your heart. You have the memories of the places you went. And this was a lovely thing that our friends, there's a band called the Jelly Bricks. And they are from Youngstown. Some of them are from Youngstown. Now they're from Harrisburg. But they recommended a place when we were going out to Cleveland called the Happy Dog. Now the Happy Dog is kind of a neighborhood bar that does live music. So we were there and we wanted to get something to eat. And so we show up at this place, and it was really cute inside, very friendly, naughty pine paneling around the place. And then we lucked out because we ended up seeing this guy called DJ Kishka. So he was this kid, I say kid because he's younger than me, everybody younger than me is a kid, wearing like a fake beard and a little like Polish hat, and he was playing polka music. Now, I think some of the happiest music on the planet is polka music, and I didn't even realize this because I'm Irish and all of our songs are sad, or most of them are if they're not about drinking and fighting. But the DJ Kishka was spinning polka music at the Happy Dog, and we had so much fun there that it was great. I can't remember who it was. There was some famous polka guy who was there, but I was smitten. We had such an unexpected time at the Happy Dog in Cleveland. Now, I keep on, I could rave about Cleveland and all this up here, but we have a lot of places to go to in the whole state. So I'm going to pick up the pace just a little bit because I want to tell you, before we leave Cleveland, we did end up eating hot dogs at the Happy Dog. It seemed like the right place to go. There's a place called Sokolowski's University Inn, which is the oldest family-owned restaurant. I believe it's also Polish. We wanted to go there, but we spent so long at the Happy Dog that they were closed by the time we left there. And there is an adorable, really cool place just outside of Cleveland heading towards here. So we're going towards Sandusky, right? There's a place called Sweet Lorraine. Now, you know the song by, what's his name? Nat King Cole. Love that song. But this is Sweet Lorraine because it's on Lorraine Street, and it's this fabulous vintage shop filled with all sorts of tchotchkes and wonderful things. I usually don't recommend shops, but this place was almost like a warehouse. It was so full of cool vintage stuff that I needed to throw that in there. On the way here towards Sandusky, there's we stayed in a little motel cabin court called the Lakeland Lodges Motel. There's also a place called the Maples Motel that was a recommendation. Beachland Ballroom in the old Ukrainian Cultural Hall. That sounds awesome. Helen, thank you. I'm going to totally add that to my map when I get off of here because I will also take recommendations. But we're chugging along here because I wanted to go to Sandusky because I wanted to go to Cedar Point. Now, Cedar Point is this, it's an old amusement park with a ton of very modern rides right here on the lake. And the reason I wanted to go there is because they have this ride there called the Derby Racer. Actually, they called it the Cedar Downs Racing Derby. And it is this kind of old school, over 100-year-old riff on the carousel where you get onto these wooden horses and you pretty much hold on for dear life and they go spinning around. It is such a fun ride. I was able to write about this ride for the National Trust for Historic Preservation. And so we went there and it was so much fun to go to Cedar Point. Now, I will say this, I'm not a big fan of new scary rides and loud ones. They have tons of those there. So if your family thinks that you're sending them to just these boring old school places, go to Cedar Point. You can ride on the old school rides like Maud Betty does, and the family can go on the crazy loop-de-loops and all that. You can too if that's your jam, because that's what travel's all about. But yeah, so Cedar Point. Oh, and the neat thing was too, we also discovered quite a few things. Discovery is such a neat thing in Ohio, or in travel. So right, so we're here in Sandusky, okay? And then somebody had recommended a place, first of all, before we leave Sandusky, there's a place called the Merry-Go-Round Museum that's in the old post office building. Really cool place to learn about the history of the merry-go-round, and they have an actual carousel inside the building that you can drive. Very cool. Oh my God, you guys are making me so excited to go back to Ohio. Oh my God, I think I'm channeling Chrissy Hind, but I hope my city won't be gone. But things do get gone, right? She was not kidding, even though all those years ago she wrote that song. So we have to all go to these places, people. Like, it's the thing. We just have to do it. So anyhow, we were in Sandusky, and we had heard about a place in Port Clinton, which is like right over here on this little nub. It's that's the official term for things that jet out, like that's the official nub there. And we realized we could get to this place called Cheese Haven. And I'm like, we're on vacation. Why not go to a place that's a haven of cheese, right? So we went to Cheese Haven. It was very cheesy, very haveny. We got some cheese. But then on the way back, this was so fun, because when I have my maps that I write about places, I try to put down notes and remind myself, kind of, it's almost like a snapshot, like it's either a travel journal or your camera. And I wrote down, what did I do? I said, we came out of Port Clinton to check out Cheese Haven. On the way out of town, one of us had to use the restroom, so we stopped at a little visitor center. And you know how they have those little card rack things? Well, there was a card rack thing for the Aviation Museum, and it mentioned that it had a place called the Tin Goose Diner, right? So we thought, oh, well, where is that? We'll check. It was right around the area, so we thought, why don't we stop by? So this ended up being so cool, people, and I only really discovered the entirety of the story when I was following up with my research for today's show. So thank you again for giving me the excuse to go back and visit some of these places that I went, because I'm learning something, and then when I learn it, I get to share it with you. Sorry, I know I'm getting all excited and talking fast and rambling, but there's just so much to share. So anyhow, we were talking about the Aviation Museum in Port Clinton, Ohio. And I'm telling you about this because if you're interested in aviation history, that's great. But if you like neon or old school diners like I do, the diner at the museum is an actual legitimate 1950s O'Mahony diner built in New Jersey, right? So cool enough. This random place has this really cool, very well preserved and renovated diner attached to the museum. That's awesome. I love seeing old diners not pitched, not being, turned into landfill, but saved, okay? But check this out. This diner, I keep on pointing like this diner right here. The diner at the Aviation Museum in Port Clinton is actually the diner that used to be in Jim Thorpe, PA. It used to be the Sunrise Diner in Jim Thorpe. And we ate at the Sunrise Diner in Jim Thorpe before it moved. So it's like old diners, many of them, when they weren't built on site, they could be lifted up and trucked someplace else. And so this diner, not only did we get to eat in it in Jim Thorpe, PA, but we got to eat in it in Ohio as well. I just thought that was pretty cool. And we never would have known about that unless we had to stop and, use the facilities somewhere. So use any excuse to stop and discover. Keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open. If things ping back at you, like you send out your little vibes about what you like and then little messages come back, pay attention to them, because that's how you find the things that you're drawn to. Hence, me finding out about a vintage diner. So there are plenty of places, I will say this, there are so many places in kind of I am not accurately representing all the cool vintage places here that I discovered in Ohio or that I'm excited about. But just for the lack of time, or I want to be mindful of the time, I want to kind of hit the heavy hitters, but there are more, right? Yeah, see, you have to collect them all. That's what I do. So anyhow, up here in Toledo, or Toledo, if you are Spanish, There are a couple of neat places, and Tony P. So the reason I'm mentioning Toledo is because I think it's going to be a great place for you to check out. And if you need an excuse, like, well, let's just go there and go to this one thing and then see what we're discovering. Tony Paco's. So Tony Paco's it's now corporately owned, so it's a little bit kind of zhuzhed up now. But this is where the original Tony Paco's has been since 1932. They are famous for their hot dogs. And the reason that they're so famous, and this is going to totally date me as if my grays and wrinkles didn't, is that the TV show MASH back in the 70s, Jamie Farr, who played Klinger, who wore a dress to try to get out of the army. So anyhow, he came from Toledo, and he always talked, his character was, Jamie Farr, who played the character, was from Toledo. And then he worked it into his character's narrative that he was from Toledo, and he would always reminisce about Tony Paco's hot dogs. So that put this place on the map nationally. You know, like you can't buy that kind of coverage. And now the famous thing is, the funny thing is that when famous people go there, they autograph a hot dog roll, and then they put them on the wall. I think they're behind plastic or something. But, you know, to me, it's like, let's go to Toledo. We can go get something at Tony Paco's and find something else to do there as well. But I just had to mention that because we're kind of coming up, cutting across, and then we're going to head down, okay? So we're heading down south. As I said, we're almost like drawing a little heart because we love Ohio. And what else? What was the next thing I had? I was singing that theme song. Oh God, what is that? Price is Right. I was singing Price is Right theme song the other day. I don't know. So weird. So weird, the things that you do when you've been in your house for 2 months. In any case, now we're in Lima or Lima, Toledo, Lima. I don't know. It's so international there in Ohio. And I'm going to talk about a burger place. There are a ton of burger places in Ohio that you can go to. But there's these adorable ones called the Kewpie. Kewpie used to be a chain, and I think they said the second known chain of hamburger fast foods restaurants, founded in 1923 in Flint, Michigan. Can you tell I cut and pasted something from the internet when I'm so, you know, eloquent in my verbiage? So they were the Kewpie Hotel hamburgers, and the current headquarters is in Lima, Ohio, and they have 3 of them. So much like Up's thread here, somebody talked about, I always talk about collect them all, like, oh, if there's X amount of something, I want to collect all, and I want to say that I've been to all of them. There are three Kewpie hot hamburger places in Lima, Ohio, and so you can go to each one of them. We went to 2 of them. We went with the Society for Commercial Archaeology had their 40th anniversary down here in Cincinnati, and we went on a day trip in a bus, a whole bunch of us, and we went there, and it was so much fun. This is my house. This is my living room, because where else? I mean, what am I going to do? I can't go out to a diner. But yeah, this is my stage. This is my set. In any case, so Lima, and if anybody remembers Kewpie dolls, they're kind of like little babies with a little curly Q on their heads. You know, the little girl with the curl right in the middle of her forehead. That's their logo. Now I've messed up my hair. That's their logo. And so then you can go get a hot dog, and they serve it in a little paper bag. I think they have pie there too. I remember getting a slice of pie. Yes, exactly. Marianne, we went to the Kewpie, and we drove past a few of them. And I remembered thinking, see, I did not even know The Price is Right had a Cleveland reference. You know what? The universe knows I'm like a sponge, so it sends me these messages, and I just go with them. So thank you, everybody. Thank you all. Thank you, guys. Thank gender neutral, you know, multiple people. There's another place down here. So that's in Lima. So go get 3 burgers, or get like burgers at one, fries at another, thing of, you know, a slice of pie at a third, and say you went to the mall. Take pictures, hashtag them, Instagram them, so people know that they're there. So that was the Kewpie burgers. And then, oh yeah, there was a place there was some place here. This was it. The WEP, I don't know why this oh yeah, the WAPA Theater. So the WAPA Theater was a place in Wapanetka. Yeah. Wapanetta. Again, when I'm on the real life TV, somebody's going to help me with the pronunciations here. There was a really cool looking marquee that we were at this SCA conference and we drove past it so fast we didn't get a good picture. But there's a place called the Wappa Theater right there, kind of adjacent here. So check that out because I don't want to be just sending you to places to eat, though I do tend to send you to a lot of places to eat because doesn't everybody just love eating? I know I do. And then around here, just as a quick aside, I was going to tell you about the fact that they make Airstream trailers here, right outside of that as well. Jackson Center, Ohio, but they're expanding and they're not doing tours. And here's the other thing I want to remind you of too. I realize we all can't go traveling right now, but when we do, let's kick ourselves and make our bucket list, like prioritize that list because I had been saying I wanted to tour that place for a long time. And time passes and things change. So remember the things that are most important to you and do those first. Says Maud Betty, just drive your life. Go to Ohio. It should be on your list because now we're going to go from there. We're chucking along and we're going to head to Columbus, Ohio, okay? Couple of cool places there. And then we're actually going to jut out. It's going to be a weird heart shape right here. We're going to jut out to Zanesville, but I want to talk about a few places in Columbus because I went there actually to meet the gentleman that I was going to go on my Route 66 road trip with. If you guys remember, last year I did a great 2-week trip to from Chicago to LA on Route 66, and I was invited to go on it by this wonderful gentleman, Austin Coop, who has a great company he's just started called 2 Lane America. And I'll be honest, I wasn't sure like if this was just one of these things like, you know that New Yorker cartoon that says like on the internet, like nobody knows you're a dog? Like I could pretend to be something I'm not on the internet. It would be very challenging for me because I just can barely be myself. So I wasn't sure who this guy was who was like, I'm going to be creating a caravan of people going across the country. So Retro Road Husband and I met him beforehand just to kind of suss it out, and it gave us an excuse to go to Columbus, Ohio. So we came out from way over here in Pennsylvania. We drove out here to Columbus. Not only did we meet Austin, who was awesome, and I hope you all go on a Route 66 road trip with him. This is not a commercial for him, but I will say I am totally going to do a Route 66 road trip with him, and it will be like the Maud Betty version of it. So when I do that, I'll tell you all so you can come along with me because it's going to be so much fun. But I digress. Columbus, Ohio. A bunch of stuff you can do there. We went to the Grass Skirt Tiki, which sadly has now closed. But we also found a really cool vintage place called Dawn of Retro. It's only open, I think, 1 day a week for a few hours. Big warehouse full of mid-century modern furniture, things like that. So if that's something you're into like I am, definitely go there. Again, that was one of those things. We were in a shop. We overheard somebody asking about, you know, where were there places, other places to go shopping. And this woman was like, well, the place is open. If you get there, I think she's open for another half an hour. And we were like, let's do it. Hop in there. Great place. We didn't buy anything because we have all the furniture we need, but wonderful place that I'm psyched to tell you about because their prices were good too. Oh, another neat thing. So here's where we'll go slightly off of the eating trip. So check this out. The Ohio Historical Society in Columbus has a full-sized prefabricated lustron home built inside the museum. Now, I've mentioned lustrons a couple of times when we've been in different states. Like I know there's one in New Jersey I talked about I should have talked about because you can go tour it. And I think there's a few others, but lustrons are kind of a prefabricated, they were like an answer to the housing shortage that occurred after World War II when all the soldiers were coming back from the war and they needed to build houses really quickly. And so these were kind of almost like diners in the fact that they were prefabricated, they were made of metal, and you could basically almost like an erector set or something, or a Sears house back in the day, like you could get a package that had all the parts in it and then they could be assembled. Now, lustrons are crazy because everything in them is metal. The walls inside are metal. So like instead of like putting a nail hole in the wall, lustron houses, there's a magnet. And you can magnetize, what do I say? You want to hang things up with a magnet. And the Ohio Historical Society, because they were invented in Ohio, Ohio Historical getting hysterical. Ohio Historical Society in Columbus has one in their museum. Now, again, I don't often send people to museums because I want you to experience history before it turns into a skeleton that is in a museum. Live history is the best history, but when a history place has something cool like a restaurant house in it, I'm totally sending you there. Another really cool place that I would love for you to check out when you are in Columbus, Ohio is the Book Loft in German Village. Now there's a big German history area, like where German immigrants came and lived in Columbus. And this neck of the woods is got two things that's going on. One is this place called the Book Loft, which if you're a book person, and you should be, because reading is fundamental and so much better than television, except if Maud Betty gets a TV show doing this, then I love television, you're great. But in any case, the Book Loft, I keep on calling it Lodge. The Book Loft is one of the nation's largest independent bookstores. It's in a pre-Civil War building that has over 32 rooms filled with books. So not only is it a bookstore, but it's a place you can go and explore, and different things are in different little nooks and crannies, and you see other book lovers, and who doesn't love to get a book? And even, here's the thing, you get a book, you're supporting the author. You get a book in a cool vintage place like the Book Loft, or like Reeds and Company here in PA, and then you're supporting that business. And then you go home and you read that book, you enjoy it yourself, and then you also have a great memory of when you were on vacation. Like, oh yeah, I remember buying that book when I was on vacation. So again, it's that win-win-win-win-win, which is so much better than just like hitting the feeder button and having something airdropped to your house from some guy who has more rice kernels than any of us. But I digress. We are in the Book Loft in German Village, and since we're in German Village, we might as well go to Schmidts Sausage House. Schmidts Sausage House is definitely a destination there. It is a restaurant. They've got some gift shops. It's almost like a little, I say a compound, but you know when there's got a bunch of things like that. And when we went there, I will be honest, it was a madhouse. It was a madhouse, I tell ya. And it was a bit overwhelming, and so we didn't have a lot of time, but what we decided to do instead, and here's a tip too, like if a place is crazy busy, maybe I'm getting all woo. If a place is too busy when you're out there for vacation and like you have to wait a long time, do a couple things. You might be able to get a seat at the bar, or you may be able to get some food to go, which is what we did. And the neat thing is that when you showed up and you went to go put your name in at the hostess stand at Schmidts, because it's this like generations old German restaurant, beer hall type place, it happened to be right at the dessert counter where you see these massive cream puffs. And I thought to myself, well, you know, I have a wicked sweet tooth. And I would have just pretended to want to eat a whole meal there just for the excuse of having dessert. And then I thought, you know, was it Irma Bombeck or Friedrich Nietzsche who said life is short, eat dessert first? So that's what we did. We got one of these gigantic cream puffs to go in a to-go container. And you know that they do that all the time because their to-go containers were like totally prepped for them. They gave us 2 like forks or whatever. And we sat in the car and we ate it. And it was so delicious. So if we were in town again and our stomachs could handle all of the eating, we would totally go there for food. But if not, you can always go someplace smaller, get something to go. Okay? So those are a few Columbus things. Now, speaking of sweet tooth, now I love many of the places in Ohio that I'm sharing with you, and I'm trying so hard not to play favorites. Yet, if there were one place that I would want to make sure that you went in Ohio, that I've been to, that I just love up so much for so many reasons, it's Tom's Ice Cream Bowl in Zanesville. Now, I posted some pictures of Tom's not too long ago on the interwebs, and it is just so adorable for so many reasons. Super easy to get to off of the highway. If you're on the highway 70 going across, wicked easy to get to. So no excuse to be like, oh, I couldn't find it, you know. It's been open for over 70 years, and it is in this adorable little kind of white brick building. You can get ice cream there, ice cream bowl. Should get it in a bowl. I got it in a bowl because, I mean, we were in the ice cream bowl. But you can also get soups and sandwiches and burgers and things. So you can get food there too. If you're not like, oh, I don't have a sweet tooth, you can go have a savory tooth. Go to Tom's Ice Cream Bowl. They also have a candy counter, and they have nuts too, like, you know, when you get like a bag of cashews or something like that. But this place was just so, it was like such a find, because it was a vintage place that was just chugging along, doing what it has been doing for decades. Again, I think I mentioned this concept maybe last episode or something, but it's like, it is still doing, it's like a dinosaur that is just living the way it has been all the way, because it's working and it's keeping itself alive. And it's not trying to reinvent itself into something new or modern. It's doing what it's doing, and it's got that actual authentic vintage charm, not prefabricated, but authentic. You can sense the history in the place. We were there, and there was a woman who was taking her dad there, and you could just see that they had been there, like he was in his 80s probably, and she was, you know, probably close to my age. And you could just see that there was some generational connection, because he probably took her there. Now I'm getting all like this. He probably took her there when she was a little girl. And now she's taken him because he's an old guy. Don't you just love those places? Anyhow, that is Tom's Ice Cream Bowl in Zanesville, Ohio. One last crazy thing, they don't serve whipped cream on their ice cream sundaes. They only have marshmallow sauce. I can't remember why. There's a wacky story about that, but please go there. So this is when we went from Columbus, and we kind of jutted out, because we had to make sure, like when we were coming from PA, we trucked along and it was on our way. But do make the effort to go to Zanesville. There's also some great pottery places around there too. Before we head over to Dayton and down to Cincinnati, I wrote WKRP here. I'm not going to sing that song, but I might. There were a couple of interesting things here, kind of off the beaten path, that I just had to show you, because again, Ohio is filled with gems. I am missing many other places that are worthy. So go and explore and find places yourself. But I want to mention two that are right here. One is in Lancaster, Ohio, and the other one is in Logan. So in Lancaster, Ohio, there's a place called the Tiki Bowling Lanes. It's been around since the 1950s, and it's got this authentic vintage tiki vibe at a bowling alley. Now, I'm not going to show you my duck pin bowling thing that I think is going to be my sidekick on all these, because they don't do duck pins, but a bowling alley with a tiki vibe, I mean, I just love that. Maybe you do too. If not, you don't have to go there. Maybe you like doing your laundry on an old-fashioned washboard. Or maybe you like playing the washboard because you're in one of those bands, like a bluegrass band. Or maybe you have washboard abs. But anyhow, here in Logan, Ohio, there is a place called the Columbus Washboard Company. And it is the last American washboard manufacturer in the country. And when I say washboard, I mean that. Washboards, like, you know, they get the board and they get the little jibby thing where you go scrub your laundry on a washboard. And they have tours. You can buy one. If you really want to go old school with your laundry and use a washboard, you can buy one at the Columbus Washboard Company in Logan, Ohio. Now, I haven't been there, nor do I have washboard abs, but to me, I would check that place out on vacation or a tour or visit, because why the heck not? Before we get to Dayton, so where are we? We're Dayton right here. I gotta give a shout out right here to this cute little place in Troy. Yeah, the Troy, Ohio. There's a little place called Kay's Hamburger Shop. And I love Kay's Hamburger Shop, little tiny place that's been open since 1935. I love this place so much because literally almost as soon as I started Retro Roadmap, they got in touch with me and they asked if I could have a sticker. They could have a sticker to put on their door. And I said, of course, you look like a totally adorable place. And then they sent me a little magnet from their place. And I just thought that was so sweet. I didn't ask for it, but they sent it anyway. So Kay's in Troy, since 1935, go get your burgers there. But we're going to go south here to, where are we? Listen to me, where are we? I got my Boston going on. And so Dayton. So Dayton, there's a few places that I wanted to recommend. And then I want to tell you a little bit about the drive-in movie theaters they have in Ohio, because it's kind of interesting too. So there's this one place that my friend Craig Fitzgerald, he's a great writer and he writes about cars a lot, but he told me about, called the Pine Club in Dayton, Ohio. And the Pine Club is one of those old school steakhouses that has, again, that knotty pine, the wood paneling on the inside. It's been open since 1947, very old school place, and kind of one of those persnickety old school places that I kind of, you gotta love them because they're like, this is who we are. You know, kind of like Tom's Ice Cream Bowl that doesn't serve whipped cream, because they're like, we don't serve whipped cream. So at the Pine Club Steakhouse, they don't serve dessert. They don't serve dessert, and they don't take reservations. They don't take credit cards. There's a lot of don'ts. So that's why I'm telling you about these, so you're prepared with a wad of cash. But they also put onion rings on every single entree. So, you know, maybe that's why they don't serve dessert, because you wouldn't want, actually, no, you wouldn't want onion rings on ice cream, would you? Maybe you would. Maybe if you were like Wilma Flintstone and you were, you know, preggers. I don't know. I digress. That's where my brain goes. But that is the Pine Club in Dayton, Ohio. Another couple of cute places that I wanted to mention in Dayton before we head out to West Alexandria for a hot minute is Bunny's Hasty Tasty Pancake House. Now, I would just, there's two places I'm going to send you, two places in Dayton, Ohio, just because of the names, because they're so funny. Bunny's Hasty Tasty Pancake House. It's been open since 1952. And then there's a place called the Root Beer Standee. Now, I say it's Standee because that's how they wrote stand, S-T-A-N-D-E. So maybe that's fancy, because there's a few other root beer stands in that neck of the woods, so maybe the Standee makes them stand out. It obviously made them stand out to me because I'm mentioning it to you, so they fancied up their name by putting an E at the end of it. So that's in Dayton. Now, here's a neat thing. So just west of Dayton, almost into Indiana, is West Alexandria. And the really cool thing about that I'm going to point out about there, and I just checked on it and it's still there. Remember how back wherever we were, Columbus, we were talking about Lustron houses? If you want to stay in a Lustron house, they have, somebody has an Airbnb. I will put the link to the Airbnb in the quote, in the comments here after I get offline, and I follow up with some folks. I will make sure that it's in there because I think that's such a neat idea. My friend who's a photographer, Lisa Guerrero, mentioned when she was doing a cross-country road trip that she stayed there. I put a pin in my map and now I'm telling you about that. See, it's all about the exchange of energy and information, people. But who would not want to stay in a Lustron house? Like, you know, it's kind of like a test, like it's like a, you know, like when you test drive a car, you know, like maybe I want to stay at, you know, maybe I want to live in a Lustron, spend a weekend there and decide if you want to or not. But that's in West Alexandria, Virginia. Ooh, Treasure Island, Dayton, Ohio, Old-Fashioned Supper Club. Sounds good to me. Thank you, Marcia, for the recommendation. I will totally check that out and put a pin on my map for it. Other people take heed too. And again, if you have some favorite places in Ohio, please mention them there too. All right, I'm doing pretty good. I still have a bunch more places because we haven't even got to, baby, if you ever wondered. WKRP in Cincinnati. We're getting there. Don't worry, we're getting there. But I also wanted to tell you about, oh yeah, so quite a few drive-in movie theaters in Ohio. Now, nowadays, it's kind of weird because of this whole COVID and the social distancing thing, but one good that we need to pull out of the bad, because it's the only way we're going to evolve is to pull the good out of the bad, is that the drive-in movie theaters and drive-in restaurants are able to open, and they're kind of experiencing a little bit of a resurgence. And I learned online, I wasn't going to mention every drive-in movie theater around the state, but there are a bunch of them. And so it says, again, I got the Price is Right going on my head. So Ohio, according to some, I don't know if it's most recent because with the COVID and everything, but Ohio was the number three state, the number three state in the country that has how many, like a lot of drive-ins. It says New York State is #1, which I did not know, and go Pennsylvania, we had #2, but Ohio has, according to this, at one point it had, most recently it had 24 drive-in movie theaters. The thing I thought was so neat, yes, Joanne, you are so right about the silver lining. We got to concentrate on that big time, people, because that is so important. The thing I loved about some of these drive-in movie theaters in Ohio was that they were so old-timey that they called them it was like there's one called the Autorama. Auto, like they don't even say car or drive-in, automobile, you know? So the Auto View, they have the Auto View. They've got the Melody Twin, which I think the Melody Twin 49 is around here, and that got me on my jag of looking up the drive-in movie theaters. They've got the Holiday Auto Theater in Hamilton. Then there's the Autorama and the Auto View Drive-In. So quite a few places. Few places just outside of Cincinnati I think are of note. One is called the Golden Lamb. It's in Lebanon, Ohio. Again, not sure how to pronounce it. It is the oldest restaurant in Ohio. It's been around since 1803, and it started as one of those old-timey, like an inn. So you can also still stay upstairs. They have rooms historically, you know, very nicely done over rooms that you can stay at the Golden Lamb in Lebanon. If that's not really your jam and you want something more casual, this was so cool. I noticed that right across the street is a place called the Village Parlor. And it is an ice cream parlor and ice cream. Oh, crap. Did I forget that? Oh, no. Sorry, I got myself distracted because there's an ice cream parlor, another ice cream parlor I want to tell you about when we get down to Cincinnati. I will double check. It's Cincinnati. Yeah, anyhow. Because I did. Okay, I'm going to hit it. So anyhow, the Village Parlor. If you want to go there, you can go there. But I'm going to leap over a couple of places just to make sure that I tell you about some places because I realize I'm running low on time and there's so many cool things in Cincinnati. I will say them. Ice cream parlor, Aglimisis Brothers in Cincinnati. I wrote this and it's true. The place is so beautiful. You're going to walk in and you're going to get all choked up because it's so beautiful. It opened in 1913. It is a wonderful ice cream parlor with imported marble counter and soda fountain, those little heart-shaped wire chairs. They serve the ice cream in like a little metal, those little metal cups. They give you a little wafer on the side of it, and it's just like stepping back into another world. And I was lucky enough, I had no idea about it, but when Uncle Cliff and Cliff Hillis, my Retro Road husband, whatever I want to call him, when I'm talking about him in the third person, when we were in Cincinnati for the first time, we went to another place that I have to share with you, is the American Sign Museum. So Tom's Ice Cream Bowl, American Sign Museum, two heavy hitters in the Retro Road map pantheon of wonderful places to go to in Ohio. But Todd Swarmstead has a wonderful, awesome museum filled with neon signs. They tell the history of the sign in America and beyond. There's places where wall dogs have painted murals. There are rescued neon signs and created neon signs. There are signs outside. There's a giant genie outside. And if you love roadside culture, this is the place to go to. We ended up having an evening there with the Society for Commercial Archaeology, but when things are open after the COVID for regular folk, you can totally go there yourself. So the American Sign Museum, and Todd actually took us to Aglimisis Brothers ice cream afterwards. So those are two wonderful places to go to in the Cincinnati area. Another wonderful place that I would feel bad if I didn't mention, I haven't been there because it wasn't open when we were there, but it looks absolutely fabulous, is the Cincinnati Museum Center at the Union Terminal. Now, I have a total soft spot for old buildings that have been, you know, appreciated and brought back to life. And this is an absolutely gorgeous Art Deco transportation terminal, train station in Cincinnati that has been totally redone, but, you know, restored, not replaced. In 1920, it was opened in 1933, so it's totally Art Deco, restored in 2018, and bunch of really cool museums there. The Cincinnati History Library, Cincinnati History Museum, there's a kids museum, all sorts of stuff. But I would just go and just soak up the architecture, because there was a time where everybody on the planet used to make beautiful buildings. Don't know if that still happens, but let's celebrate the ones that did happen. So that's the Cincinnati Museum at Union Terminal. And then before we sign off, I want to mention just one really interesting thing, food-wise, that Cincinnati is known for. Cincinnati is known for, it's a 5-way or a 3-way. It's known for its chili. And the fact that they serve their chili on spaghetti, and then they load it up with your choice. Like sometimes it's got beans, sometimes it doesn't, but you've got spaghetti with chili, and then it's got 5-way. What are the 5 ways? It's got cheese, oyster crackers, you can get onions, you can get beans on it, and it's this big conglomeration. There are two kind of, I don't want to say they're rival, but there are 2 places that are recommended usually to get the chili. One is Skyline chili, which is famous, and I think they even have theirs in cans. If you go to interesting grocery stores, they probably have them there. But we went to Camp Washington chili with Todd and had that chili right there. And again, it's something that you don't find everywhere. So going on a trip and eating different things and going to different places, this is what you will always remember. You know, maybe you'll remember that you got heartburn and you didn't like it, but you'll remember having that there versus having an ubiquitous burger at a national chain that seems to be taking over, like those crazy bugs that are taking over lately. So anyhow, those are a few things in Cincinnati. I'm missing some stuff, but I love this. Michael Patrick, just to let you know, I am not in Ohio. I'm going to California. I'm in Ohio in my mind, but I'm in my house, smartly self-containing as to not get anybody else sick if I were sick. So I'm taking everybody each week to different places on the Retro Roadmap. So we've started in Maine, and now we are already over in Ohio, people. And then on Thursday, because I do it on Tuesday and Thursday I've decided to do Kentucky. So Marianne, I know you're going to have some comments about that, so I'm so excited. But this is to distract us from what's going on outside that door. Like here in this set, in this living room, right here, we're talking about the fun things we're going to do when we leave. We're going to stay in the cool hotels. We're going to stay in the cool hotels like the Hilton Cincinnati Netherland Plaza, which is a great Art Deco hotel. We had the wonderful opportunity to stay in with the Society for Commercial Archaeology. So when you are released from, going out to places, please, 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 it makes such a difference where you spend your time and your money. It really does. Like, don't think you're powerless and that you need to save a penny, that because corporations are going to convince you that the most important thing to do is to get the lowest price. But as soon as you do that, all these places that are required to spend a little bit more money because they don't beat people up to get the lowest price, they go out of business. And you know what happens is that you don't have any choice anymore. Next thing you know, the only place to go is the boring big box store. Now, I'm not going to preach to the converted here, because you wouldn't have signed on to a retro roadmap type of thing unless you already knew the importance of, as I say, like spending your money where your heart is, because that does so much. It makes you feel good. Like now in this pandemic, we are spending our money where it's important. And I'll share with you, I used to go to Target. I was like, oh, I'm going to buy stuff. I'll pick up a few things. I haven't been there in close to 3 months, and I haven't missed it. The few things I would pick up there, I've gone across the street to the Gateway, and yeah, I may have paid $1 or $2 more on my entire purchase, but my money is now making sure that the place across the street from where I live stays in business. So, there's an importance right now while we're in this situation, but also in reminding ourselves that we have the power to keep some of these neat, cool places alive just by spending our time and our money where our hearts are. And that's an investment in the kind of world and community you want to live in. All right. So maybe I did get on my little Brillo box really quickly, but I just feel it's so important to remember that at any point, because you do have power. Don't forget that. You have, each individual one of us, just think, remember that place I was talking about, Kay's Burgers here, right? Think about the time that if we were all on the road at some point and we all decided to get our burgers there. Now, not at the same time because it would be really crowded, but think of how my $5 and $10 and your $5 and everybody's money would add up, and it would make so much more of a difference to that local community and to that business owner if we all spent our money in places like that than if we you know, spent it at a chain restaurant or just picked something up at the gas station. And then the old places close, and then we have to, the only place that's going to be left is the chains. So in any case, I don't want to leave on a crabola like, go do this, people. No, what I want to do is thank you all for tuning in. I want to, you know, encourage you positively. Like, I know myself, I don't get motivated if somebody's hitting me over the head with something. So I apologize if I'm hitting you over the head. But what I just want to say is, you know, thank you so much for showing up. Thank you so much for knowing that the cool places to go to are the ones that have been around for a long time. And I also want to say, please put any of your favorite places in Ohio in the comments. If you think there's anybody else that you know who might be interested in this wacky thing that I'm doing 2 times a week. I've been doing this since the beginning of March, and I'm going to continue until we're all through all the states, and maybe more so, because I think it's really important to get out of our heads and remind ourselves in our hearts what's important. And then that we know that when we emerge, we are going to be better people. I wish I should probably have a tip jar. You know, if you want to tip me, you know what? Tell somebody, spread the word about Retro Roadmap. That's what I would say. Like, to me, the more people that know about what I'm doing here and the word gets amplified, that helps all these little businesses. And then maybe I'll get a TV show, and then I'll make millions of dollars, and then somebody else will remind me of how to pronounce all these words. But thank you so much for thinking of that I should have a tip jar. But I guess my favorite thing to do would be for you to just get more people to come tune into this show. I don't know, like my YouTube channel so I can do Facebook Lives over there. I do PayPal, modbetty@retroroadmap.com if you wanted to. But yes, please, thank you so much, everybody, for showing up, for you showing up. I feel like Fred Rogers, but you showing up helps me. It does. I cannot tell you. Like, I was in a bit of a gloomy mood. You saw at the beginning, I was, putting on music to cheer myself up, and just thinking about all these cool places and seeing all your names go by. I will, you've totally got me in a better space. So until Thursday, this is Mod Betty signing off, saying, be the best you can be, and just drive your life. See you, Retro Road Mappers. Bye.